How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lo4f, and today I'm going to do a bit of a short contract, this one, called Ghost Town, which in the end it turns out is kind of pretty irrelevant, but it says in the as part of the rewards that you unlock 3 warehouses, so I kind of figured it'd be a pretty handy one to get done. So I'm setting off from the reactive zone map, so I've got to go down to Voron Hills. And yeah, for this one I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do. In theory I could have just followed the road kind of all the way down once I'm on Voron Hills and cross over the bridge, but I wanted to try a few sort of water crossing methods that I haven't done for a little while. So yeah, brought out the Voron Grad for this one, which I like as a truck anyway. It's out the 3 Vorons, I reckon it's my favourite one, even though I will still say like the Voron AE is probably objectively slightly better because it's got the diffs always on, but I certainly prefer this. It feels great for a truck that doesn't always have diffs on. I like the fact that it, yeah, just sits at the right speed, and however the power's distributed, and that the back end steps out quite nicely. And this was one of those trucks, even from like way back when the game first came out. They seem to punish a lot of vehicles with like the rev caps and all the rest of it that sort of force you to rev really low, whereas this is one of the ones that felt relatively untouched by comparison. Like the high gear is really nice, you put it in high gear and it really does like wind up the revs and yeah, sort of send you off flying down the road, which is nice. And yeah, like I say, even though it's got no diffs on and that, these dirt roads it's doing mostly alright. Some of the little patches where I actually get slowed down in, I've been down here in various other vehicles, they all seem to get caught, whether they got diffs on or not, whether they're advanced special and all the rest of it. Sometimes I don't know, the twin set is quite good actually for kind of just blunt force flying its way through the little mud patches, because it kind of punches the front half of the truck through, and by the time it starts getting bogged down, usually one end of the truck is possibly out the other side of the little mud patch. Obviously if you get like a big long section you're out of luck. And yeah, just overall, like driving a few vehicles around these maps the last week or whatever, anything with a high range gearbox feels way better on these maps, I think. There is for one, they are actually pretty big maps. So, I mean, driving down from the reactive zone down to here, it's took, I don't know, there's probably a bit at the beginning, but you're talking like nearly 2 minutes, which for flying in a truck like this, yeah, the equivalent, like factory grounds just off the top of my head, took probably 30 seconds to fly up the map. So yeah, they're not small maps, and stuff that's got the advanced special gearbox, just overall it feels too slow in the long run. So you can see I'm in the gateway in like the top right of the screen. I'm going to cut across, and then yeah, I've drawn a line kind of going across the rivers and that island in the middle to connect to the other side. And then the actual contract itself, you've got to visit 7 checkpoints, which are just like a tiny little lap of I don't know, just looks like some little abandoned village or something. Yeah, but it says warehouse access, so I kind of figured, oh cool, probably yeah, unlock various warehouses. It's a bit of a scam, because once you do this, you just, the little place that you drive around, there's 3 brick frame buildings that are now unlocked that I'm guessing you can scavenge bricks off. So I don't know, maybe it'll come in handy later in the contracts, but yeah, certainly it said warehouse access, not brick framing access, so I probably would have had it a little bit lower down the list if I'd known. That said, I didn't really go to sleep yesterday, and I feel pretty knackered tonight, and I was kind of fighting the urge to fall asleep whilst playing this, so I picked like a short mission or contract anyway, because I just thought there's no way I'll get a longer mission done, and then yeah, sound half dead while I'm voicing it. When I was driving along, by the way, there was like a little triangle there, and I just swerved off to the right. Originally I carried straight on, and I just kind of essentially drove off the cliff, and now I'm cutting through the water. As you can see with the Voron, the front of the Voron floats, although I've got a loaf with me, so I reversed the loaf to the back of the sideboard, because preferably you want like the weight at the back, so the front can float a little better. But when I drove in, this thing stalled pretty quickly. I had to unpack the loaf, switch to the loaf, fix the engine, switch back to this, put a winch from the back of this to the loaf just so he doesn't float off out the sideboard. But by then my truck had rotated around really to where I'm not, in the end it wasn't a very good location. As you can see underwater, it was like, yeah, it ended up being a lot deeper than I thought. That's what she said. Yeah, and it just, like, not only did it drown me, but I could just tell it wasn't a very good route to choose. Plus I could stay in it now and just keep floating down the river, but I wanted to get a bit more of a a direct approach. So now where I've just, like, the footage is cut back was just, I've just swerved right at that little triangle bit, just going a little bit further down here. Yeah, there's a couple of islands like a little bit further up that it's just shallower to cross. It's near the location that I crossed when I did the exploration video. And yeah, like I said, I wanted to go kind of as the crow flies, but yeah, I didn't think it was I didn't think it was going to go that deep. That's certainly what she said. Yeah, so we got over to here. Like I said, this is pretty much the little beach that I kind of crossed when I did the exploration video with the Zix, which I had to use a Lo4f to zombie winch the Zix, but that's why I brought this thing, because even though it's not the tallest vehicle, as it floats at the front. So I wanted to get the Lo4f a bit further to the back of the sideboard, so we get the good old weight distribution. Overcooked it a bit when I was reversing him though. And drag him back up. And yeah, sitting about there works out pretty nicely because it's certainly plenty of weight over the back. I've got a winch from the Lo4f to my truck, so it can't really slip out the back of the sideboard. Put it in a high gear, and as you can see, it's just a lot quicker to bring the front end up. If you're driving in, like, if the entrance of the water's relatively flat or a little bit of a slope, this thing will wheelie quite easily. Where I first went in, where I drowned a few minutes ago, it's quite a steep kind of bank going down, like where it goes pretty deep in the river, and it just doesn't quite have time to bring your nose up. It will eventually, but that's kind of like worst case scenario. Plus, yeah, if I'd done it again like with a Lo4f in the sideboard like this, I think I would have wheeled earlier, but again, the river just went too deep, and then the current ended up to where I'll just go down the river instead of across it, really. So I wanted to, quit and reload, because, again, within doing these videos, I like to try and find some kind of half-decent route. Like, yeah, I don't, like, say, for example, with the quitting and reloading, I don't always need to, but it's just like, yeah, I kind of think sometimes if I rescue myself out of whatever I'm doing, even the footage at the end of it is like, I don't necessarily know if I'll be happy with it, because even after editing it all, it's like essentially showing a bad way to go or something. Whereas yeah, I think this worked out pretty nicely. Cutting across those islands, the route I went, the water goes fairly deep, and the front of the Voron did have to float, but yeah, you can kind of see the riverbed underneath, so it's not as insane as it was on the first crossing attempt. And then yeah, kind of followed. I'm on the middle island now, so kind of scooting down this side of it. You can see, like, I've turned the map round to where it's pretty much north and south, but upside down. When you're cutting across rivers, for whatever reason, it's quite nice if you can go on like a diagonal, and yeah, you just kind of head, in this case, north to south, but because the river's on a diagonal, eventually it's just, if you try and cross a river like directly, the current on this game is pretty strong, and it'll try and tip you over sideways, or do what it did to me and kind of swing me around and just take you down the current. If you go on a diagonal, it kind of, the current sort of washes you down the river whilst you're still kind of going diagonally sideways along it as well. And then yeah, if you just get like a bit of a bend in the river, it's just the way the current kind of works, it helps carry you around a bit. So I know somewhere around here, you can see that little like sandy bit that pokes out a little bit more. Yeah, like there to the blue line I've drawn, so it's practically going like north to south, while the river's kind of going whatever it is, northwest to southeast or whatever it be. And yeah, this cliff looks a little bit sketchy, I'll admit, but I couldn't resist. With the Lo4f, he's doing well to stay in there, but then some kind of judo flip facing the other way. Probably heard something rustling in the bushes, make sure Hillary Clinton was not trying to sneak up on him or something. And then yeah, kind of kept rolling down here. A typical, I've got a light up. PlayStation's getting full of memory again. Yeah, I mean, I've been here 1,000 times. Stick a winch to this, to the middle of the Lo4f, floor it, flick his back end up. Now he's already in the sideboard. The Voron doesn't know it yet, but me and the Lo4f do. Yeah, winch to a tree that was conveniently behind. That's the back end in. However, I would like the Lo4f to be kind of dangling out the back of the sideboard again like it was, because I've got another river to cross. Get them tyres up Lo4f. Just need to rotate him, do a winch to some tree over here. Takes longer to find the winch point. Yeah, a bit of reverse so it kind of spins the front round whilst applying the winch. Scoot him round. Victory horn. Looks like he shit on his own window for whatever reason, but he made it. Let's see how well this one goes. And the river is looking pretty deep. You see what I mean though? I'm already like, even facing diagonally, I'm going to end up at that bank on the other side. I mean, strictly speaking, it doesn't have to, like, I'm not necessarily saying as far as north and south goes that like you have to be going that way or whatever. I'm sure in theory you could do it from like left to right, right to left, east to west, west to east, whatever. But yeah, just it kind of worked out pretty nicely on this map. I'm explaining it that it was I'm pretty much going directly south. And then yeah, again, like I'm starting to head. I've still got enough kind of riverbank underneath me. Was it at some point? Yeah, I drove in, and the loaf, just because it's goddamn professional, he drove up on my sideboard, and then I went to cross the river, and then I thought, actually, no. Just before I do, I'll pace myself, jump back in the loaf, reverse him so he hooks back over the sideboard, stick a winch on him, and we're good to go. And as you can see, yeah, the Voron, this is what it was bloody handy for. It was one of the first vehicles I was able to successfully, sort of as much as I wanted before I'd really realised the true potential of the zombie winch loaf. Yeah, this used to get over to the White Valley Island, kind of, after I jump off the runway. And you see, like that first river crossing, it wouldn't work out too well because again it was quite a steep kind of entrance into the river, but the twin steer floats at the front as well, and obviously being a longer vehicle it can theoretically like tiptoe with its back end into deeper waters while the front's still floating, so that might possibly get across there. But I kind of was pushing my luck anyway because I was pretty much just trying to go like directly across the river instead of diagonally, and I think whatever truck I took would have probably started getting washed around. Bit of Spider-Man swinging off that lamppost telegraph pole thing with a winch. This is one of these vehicles that actually just works out pretty nice, but some of them just the winch point's in the wrong place and it'll end up pulling your back end round towards the, say, telegraph pole, whatever, and your front end just understeers, and then it ends up like flicking you sideways and trying to tip you. But yeah, this and the loaf. I mean, again, we've figured it out by now. The loaf, there isn't anything you can't do. And then yeah, all this. I mean, in the end, I thought I may as well kind of. The video is probably more going to be about the journey driving over here than the actual mission, because if I started the mission from here, what would I be making? About a 1:43 video. Yeah, this is like the little village thing. You can see all the points I've drawn are like checkpoint 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yeah, so a ridiculously small little circuit to drive. For whatever reason, I know it's not a contest, but I kind of got a bit of a run up just to. Thought I'll see how quick I can speed run it. But that being said, what are we on? 13:21. Yeah, I was going to say, all that being said, I never even looked to see how long it did take me. And yeah, apparently as I'm driving around, some of these houses must be brick frame houses because it just kind of lights some of these up. The only other good thing, if you didn't get it in the exploration video, to my right, I've already got it, but there's an upgrade there, just somewhere along here now. And yeah, as you can see, a pretty ridiculously short video, 14:4. So what's that? 39:43 seconds it took me. Yeah, as well. Don't know completely, but 30 XP and $500. Possibly one of the smallest, least paying missions going. And yeah, like I say, I got ripped. I went to go and look for the warehouse, and look, it's just 3 brick framing things that are listed now. So yeah, bit of a waste, but at least it's done and out of the way. But yeah, that's about it for today though. Hope you enjoyed, I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, get yourself a loaf because he's a whopper as usual. Helps me cross them rivers, and I'll be back soon.